Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Pitchline Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tats here with Donald, and welcome back, Robino. Good to see you. And look, I think you've had a tougher week than anybody in Yankee land, but it's really good to have you back. But with that being said, look, a lot has been made about this whole thing with Cole, and a lot of theories are being tossed around of what the Yankees should do next. Should we just go out and just make a big move and not waste the years of Judge while we have them? Should we let the kids play and just see what happens and take the risk of the season's kind of imploding before it really starts? And I think the answer is a little bit of both. But I don't know if our farm has the trade capital to really make that big splash to replace the pitching. Because pitching at this point, they know we're desperate. So it's going to be expensive, whatever we do. So the Yankees are seriously in a tough spot. I want to throw it right to Rob and give him a chance to kind of, get his feelings out on the whole situation after a couple of days off. But so, Rob, what's been your take on everything that's been going on?
Fuck. Where do we even begin? No Stanton, no Heel, no Cole. Backs are already up against it, but I'm not. I'm actually not that overly concerned. I still think there's a very good team here. Also, I don't think there's a pitcher that's available that's out there right now that's going to be like, you got to go get that guy. If Dylan Cease was actually on the market, I would say they got to go get him. I think it's too early for Alcantara because he's coming back from Tommy John, and he's more of a midseason guy if he's healthy. The dude from the Cardinals, Eric, is it Fady or Fetty? He's a guy that you probably look for midseason. So there really isn't anybody out there. Like, is Lance Lynn really going to give you better results than Will Warren would, than Carrasco would? So I think you kind of have no choice but to roll with those two as the 5-6 options, and then maybe an Allen Winans can be this year's Cody Poteet. I'm looking forward to seeing some of these AA guys like Schlittler and Messenger, and rise up a little bit this year and see if they can take that next step. Brock Selvage, Tristan Vealing. There's just no options out there. So if you're trying to replace Garrett Cole, good luck. And I don't think you can do that. You just got to hope that Warren can take what he's done in the spring and carry it over. And Max Fried's the number one that you signed him to be. They didn't sign him to be a number two. They didn't sign him to be a number three. He's got to be a second ace, and now he's got to be the ace. So I'm not down on the season by any means. I don't think it's over with. I think there's still a very good team here. It just really sucks that we're not going to have Garrett Cole for it. But if that move was out there to say go out and go all in and go get that player, unfortunately that player is not available. I don't know who that would be. In a perfect world, Dylan Cease would be available, but the Padres are trying to make the playoffs as well. I say you have no choice but to ride with what you have. I can't really blame the Yankees for not adding another pitcher because they got freed and they had a surplus, so they had to use that surplus to get a closer, and they still had a surplus after doing that. You couldn't really foresee losing Heel and then Cole in a matter of like a week, and also losing Chase Hampton on top of that. And then Beater went down, and then Brubaker hurt his ribs or whatever it was. It's just like, it's hard to be like, okay, what's plan J, K, L, because you're going all the way far down the alphabet to try to figure out what the depth is like. So I think you just have to ride with what you have, and hopefully it holds up till Heel comes back. And if there's a trade available midseason, you attack the market and you don't get scared like you did last year. You got to go out and take it at the deadline, because right now that player is just not out there.
The other thing with Schmidt, we didn't know what was going on with Schmidt at the same time either until he got on the mound yesterday. And it was like, he got lit up on it. It's his first game back. Relax, everybody. Schmidt's going to be fine. But no, it really is an issue with the pitching. And I heard the thing, because we made the argument that how negligent the Yankees were with Stanton because they knew he was hurt. They knew there were issues going into the postseason with discomfort and just not feeling himself. There, I heard the argument, them saying that they knew that Cole was hurt. Cole knew that he was hurt. And again, they let it go and they tried sugarcoating it. That's the only reason they got freed, and I think that's just nonsense. You're always looking to add to your depth. These fans sometimes it's why I'm glad I get busy at work at this time of year because it limits my access to social media. Just sit there and scroll.
That wouldn't make sense, though. If I can cut you off for a second,
Yeah,
why would they bring Cole back if they knew he was hurt?
yeah.
I'm
I'm sure you heard the same stupid argument.
I mean, I've seen a lot of nonsense on social media over the last week and a half, and that was one of them. There's no way you say he's gonna get Tommy John, so let's re-sign him for 4 more years.
Yeah,
When he opted out, if you knew he was hurt, you wouldn't bring him back. Simple as that.
yeah. Donald, what do you think about what do you think about all that? They knew about Cole just like they knew Stanton. Are you agreeing with us that it's just a bullshit narrative?
Well, the first thing I want to say is hello to the chat. We got the chat moving here. There's a lot of comments that I'm looking forward to getting into. I want to say a big salute to Robinho and a big salute to Uncle T. We got the Three Amigos back. The Three Amigos are back in town. And although my personal opinion is the Yankees are completely cooked, fried, absolutely finished, kaput, we aren't. We're climbing. We are climbing. And we need all the likes and the subs we can get. So let's continue to do that. Let's hit that like button. Let's hit the sub button because we will continue no matter what, whether the Yankees win 60 games or 100 games. Yeah, right. If whatever wins we get this year, we ain't stopping. We ain't stopping for nobody because we will absolutely give you all the content we possibly can just for you. Because this is the channel for the fans. This is the channel where you have the opportunity to get your voice, and we will absolutely share it out. So let's hit that like button, hit the sub button first of all. And as for the narrative regarding Garrett Cole and all that stuff, I mean, I'm not going to play Monday morning quarterback. I mean, obviously, hindsight is always 2020. I was always on board with bringing back Garrett Cole. I think it's insane to even contemplate not, to be honest. And I don't think there's a massive conspiracy theory here. I was listening to Joel Sherman. He's not. I don't play conspiracy games. The Yankees weren't like planning on him having Tommy John surgery, and that's not why they signed Max Fried. But so he's not playing the conspiracy game, and I'm pretty good with that too. So I don't think there was any massive conspiracy to it. I think the Yankees knew that it was probable after last year when the initial reports were, and I think that they managed to stave it off by the way that they managed to get him to come in June, July, and really help this rotation. Last year was our all-in year, and so if I was to be critical, I would say that was the year to go all in. That was the year to go and get your Kopechs and Tommy Edmonds and Jack Flaherty's instead of the Dodgers getting them in order to win a world championship. Because that's why I was beating that drum every podcast last year. I was like, this is your all-in year. You got Soto, you got Judge, you got Stanton, you got Cole, you got Heel having a season of his life. That is the year to go all in. They didn't do it. And so I actually disagree with Rob. I am not going to go and get a Dylan Cease. I'm not going to go and do all that because just to marginally raise your ceiling this year, just to make them like a wild card team or at best maybe a division series team. I don't see the upside in that. Last year was the World Championship year. This year, I'm all in on developing the prospects and seeing what we got. If there's a decent trade to make that isn't overly expensive, fine. But I'm gonna spend this year looking at what we have within and make smart moves. But we need to really restock this farm system because our farm system is 24th for a reason. There's not a lot that's graduating to 2025. There's some really good prospects in 2026, but in general, it isn't. It's the farm system is taking a massive hit in terms of injuries, in terms of bad trades, in terms of poor decision making, and some injury issues, and maybe some developmental issues, performance issues. So we really need to really get restocked. I think this is the year to do it, and then 2026 is looking fantastic in terms of free agency, and if we spend this year smart and then really learn what we have within, then it'll make our job a hell of a lot easier to go all in next year. But I'm not wasting key prospects just to maybe marginally raise our ceiling. I just don't really like our roster. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I don't like it. Last year was a great roster that needed just a bit of a fine tuning. I don't like this year's roster at all.
Yeah, we're gonna dive into the comments later in the show, but I want to bring this one up. And Doran, you're right. 24 doing a lot of graduations though, and I think that's the one upside of the season is we've been clamoring for these kids to get their shot. This is the year you do it, right? Because it's not like we had the pitching, from 2-3 weeks ago, where you had the rotation of Cole, Fried, Heel, Rodon, and Schmidt. That's a solid rotation. That's probably one of the best rotations in baseball. You're not looking at that anymore. And it's a chance to take a breath and lower the expectations a little bit and just take this season for what it's going to be. It's going to be a painful season, but there's going to be some highlights. We're going to be able to really get a chance to see what Dominguez is going to be. We're going to really get a chance to see what Warren could be in a rotation. He's had a phenomenal spring, and made the adjustments from last year that we were very critical of. We talked about that last week, with Warren. Is this still a playoff team? It could be because the expanded playoffs. I mean, it's very hard not to make the playoffs. But no, I like I said the other day, it's not a World Series team. Definitely and not. I don't think this is that season, especially when you lose Cole for a year. Stanton, you don't know what the heck's going on with him. Losing Heel for 3 months. This isn't the season where you pivot to go all in.
Yeah.
Exactly to echo what Donald said. That was last year. This year is let's see what we have to get ready for next year and just see how the season plays out. And just, this is not a team. I made this comment the other day, Rob. I want to get your take. This is not a team you're going to see go on a 10-game win streak. I think that, it's not the roster's not built that way. But it still can be it can be a good season as far as seeing how the growth has gone with some of the kids.
Who's to say they can't go on a 10-game winning streak? They've done it with worse rosters before. They were winning 10 games or 9 games in a row in 2019 when we had Mike Talkman and Cameron Maben taking at-bats every day. Every time there's a major injury on the pitching staff, we seem to think the world is over, but they survived it last year without Cole for half a season. Who's to say that Will Warren can't step up this year and be what Heel was last year? Who's to say that Carrasco can't be a quality number 5 starter? We don't know what we're going to get. So I'm not going to sit here and give up on the season on March 12th. I'm not going to do that. I'm still very excited for baseball. I think this team can. I still think this team can win the division. Maybe I'm too overly optimistic. I think they can win the division. I still think they got a good team. And if you're in a position to win, if a player's available, you go get that player. I didn't say go get him right now. I didn't say they should go trade for Dylan Cease right now. In fact, I said they should trade for him last year, and I got yelled at because they said Dylan Cease was a number 4 starter, which I think is a ridiculous statement to make because Dylan Cease is phenomenal. And he would have been our number 2 guy right now. He would have been our second best pitcher or best pitcher last season. So I'm not saying they got to go make the move right now. I'm just saying if you're in a position to win the AL East and the trade's available at the deadline, then you go do it. I'm not saying the season's over by any means. I'm not going to do that. I'm not doing it on March 12th. Yeah, I know we have some kids that I'm looking forward to seeing in the farm system make an impact this year, potentially. I mentioned the names already, like Selvage and Vreeling and Ben Shields, Bailey Dees. There's a lot of guys that had good seasons in Somerset that could take a graduation to AAA and eventually make their presence felt on the roster this year. We still have Max Fried. We still have Carlos Rodon. We still have Clark Schmidt, who's a very good middle of the rotation pitcher. I still think Stroman can be a quality guy, and it kind of works out in the Yankees' favor. If Stroman hits that second half wall and you get Heel back, then you don't have to give Stroman his 140 innings, and he's gone next year. So it kind of works out in the Yankees' favor, and I think they have plenty of options for that number 5 spot, like Warren Carrasco and the guys I just mentioned, even an Allen Winnan. So the thing I've been most skeptical about is the offense. But so far in the spring, we've seen some guys step up and give them some good at-bats. Dom Smith's looked really good this spring. Ben Rice has looked good. Peraza, Cabrera, they both look pretty good so far. So I don't want to be overly down on the season. I'm still looking forward to baseball. I'm looking forward to seeing this team. I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do because now their backs are up against the wall, in a sense. I want to see what they can do. So, I mean, I understand the frustration. I understand the anger about it, but I'm in no way saying if the trade's available in July, don't go do it. I can't predict the future. Nobody can predict the future. I've seen this team battle through a lot of injuries, and usually it's the offensive injuries that cripple us, not the pitching. Surprisingly, somebody steps up every single year when we have a pitching injury. Remember when I think it was Severino went down in 2019 and Domingo Germán stepped up? 2023, we had an entire rotation get hurt, and we had guys like Brito and Vasquez step in and give us quality starts. So, I mean, it's the skies to me. I'm not going to tell anyone to change their opinion. To me, I'm not going to say the sky is falling. I'm not going to say the season's over. I'm very much still looking forward to it, and we'll see what happens. If I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, and I'll own up to it either way. I'm not going to give up on the season on March 12th.
I just view that. For me, I've always viewed the Yankees as like World Series or bust. So when I see the season's over, I say the World Series is over. Season's over in terms of World Series.
Fair.
And I've always had that viewpoint. Now maybe it's an unhealthy outlook for the Yankees, and obviously we haven't won since 2009. But I've always had that viewpoint. I'm very much a Derek Jeter kid, where it's like win or bust, really. I just don't see the upside this year. I don't think there's enough winners, and I don't really like the offense. And I believe that Juan Soto carried about 5 below average offensive positions last year by himself. We didn't have a league average shortstop offensively, didn't have a league average third baseman offensively, didn't have a league average first baseman offensively, didn't have a league average left fielder offensively last season. And Gleyber Torres was generally viewed as below average 2 until the postseason. So that's like 5. And Soto carried all that by himself in many, many, many ways, along with Aaron Judge. So now that Soto's going to be having an incredible year in Queens, what do we have? Well, I don't see that we got enough depth. So yeah, that's why we were able to withstand Garrett Cole going down last year. Luis Gil was a big part of that, and he's not even here. And then you had Soto doing insane things, and he's not here. So, and then you had Stanton supporting Aaron Judge, and he's not here right now. So it's like, I just don't think there's any power coming from the right side, and there's just not a lot of offensive depth, and you know, Hal Steinbrenner, as I said, saying that he's out of loot is kind of a disgrace, considering the Yankees made almost $1 billion from last season alone. So I'm just not feeling the vibes. I'm just not. So well, the '96 team had some real winners, some great players there. Hell of a manager too, Hall of Fame manager. We don't have any of that stuff in this team. So I'm just being realistic. I just think that this is maybe a good opportunity you'll still make the playoffs, because it's impossible not to, unless you're really, really bad like 2023. But there's a very good chance we'll still make it. But I would just use this as an opportunity to give Dominguez all the rope as possible, and give Peraza and Cabrera all the rope possible at third, and just maybe just try things out. Maybe promote Pereira. I'm surprised that we actually sent him back to AAA. I'm just going to use this opportunity to see what we can do with our prospects. And I know there was a question from Ken asking what would I do to restock the farm. Well, let's wait and see, because maybe there's maybe it's a case where this is a lost season, and maybe you do take advantage of trading some assets to accumulate prospects and things like that. We'll wait and see what happens. Obviously, Rob's much higher on this team than I am. I think Tats is pretty realistic, and he's trying to keep things like, we'll wait and see what happens. Me, I'm more down on it, but I'm not saying this is a bad team. It's just when you make a World Series and you don't really heavily invest the next year, then you're going to get more pessimism from certain areas, such as me.
Yeah, it's like if they don't win the World Series, I'm not going to say it's a failed season. If we see like Fried really step up and really be that ace, if Warren makes his starts and Schmidt, when Heel comes back and they're able to pick up where they left off, is Dominguez going to figure it out and really have a solid season? So Peraza, getting at third base. So there's still things to be optimistic about the season. I'm just not going to, I'm going into the mindset where it's not a failed season if they don't win the World Series. If they make the playoffs, that'd be awesome. And see how that run goes, because you never know. Once you get to the playoffs, it's always a different situation. What's going on, Luca? So that's where I'm still optimistic about the players, but the outcome of the season has me kind of not being overly hyped about.
Absolutely. Should we get into the comments? Because there's a lot of comments.
There are a lot of comments. Yeah.
And this is a great opportunity to get into them. So let's start with Luca. That's probably my mindset. I agree with Luca. Salute to you. A team that just made the World Series shouldn't look like this. That's just me. I think there's problems everywhere with this team. Absolutely agree with you. That's very much where I'm at. Ken's right that Cole's contract is insured, so the agency is footing the bill for his contract. It's a shame that Cole's salary counts against the cap. I think that this should be dealt with during the negotiations with the league negotiation. That's a good point, because obviously I believe like 27 of his 36 mils being insured, but I don't believe that means that 27 million is going to be made available readily for the Yankees. Mm-hmm. But let's be perfectly honest. If it was, I doubt Hal Steinbrenner would spend it. Let's be fair. All right. So what else have we got here? Sunil says 81 is likely the worst we end up being. I probably agree with that. I think we will be okay. I think we'll finish above 500. I've yet to see the Yankees not finish above 500, so I still think we'll finish above 500. FJ says our GM screwed up again, not having a contingency plan. Preach! Absolutely agree with you. He did not mitigate risk, especially with Big G. Now, I can't really blame him for Garrett Cole, but he definitely didn't mitigate risk with Big G. It's negligence and malfeasance not to have him, not to be aware of what his situation is in before January or before February, I should say. So they wasted valuable months in which they could have started that treatment, or at minimum get yourself a right-handed bat to help this roster. So absolute malfeasance. Instead, in terms of pitching, they probably still could have added a couple more arms considering the injuries, but I don't really blame them for Cole. Definitely blame them for Stan, though. Anna LeBeau, I hope we do something with Cole's money. Don't bet on it. As I say, it doesn't really necessarily make the money available to us. And listen, let's be fair. Just listen to Brian Cashman yesterday. He was very honest. He says, for luxury tax reasons, I highly doubt that we're going to be doing anything until the trade deadline, till July. So there you go. That's so you heard it from the horse's mouth. That means that Hal Steinbrenner's told him you ain't spending nothing. So suck it up, guys. What else we got here? Damien. 2017, that team was never supposed to make it to the playoffs, let alone the ALCS. Going away from games, games have to be played. That's true, but that was kind of a fun baby Bombers team. I loved that 2017 because it was, it had really good coaching, really good management, and really exciting young players. Aaron Judge just coming through. You had Torres coming through, Sanchez coming through. Didn't we have? It was just a very young, exciting team in 2017. And so I love that 2017 team. That was great. Don't love this one, though. FJ, let's see. What have we got here? Last year, the Sox wanted a lot more from the Yankees for Cease than they got from the Padres. You guys jump in with whatever comments you guys like.
No, I actually, in the division of wishful thinking, I mean, let's not, it's not that the Yankees are going to finish last, but we're also not dealing with the AL East of the past, where it really was just a dominant division. But, the other teams, are, they can hold their own against the Yankees. So I don't know how much of a lock the division is, but it's not a situation where it's very possible that they can still win the division. It all depends on all the moves going forward and the progress of some of the kids that they're going to have their trust in.
It all depends on how some of these players perform, obviously. That's the main key, and that's the most obvious statement I can possibly make. Is Austin Wells going to be the leadoff hitter that we've been asking for? He's looked phenomenal as the leadoff hitter so far in spring. I did not see that coming. Can the top of that order carry the offense? You have Wells, Judge, Bellinger. That's a pretty good top three. Judge, I'm not worried about his spring stats. We know Aaron Judge is going to probably hit 45 home runs at least if he's healthy. Bellinger's looked really good. Goldschmidt's had a good spring. Volpe's showing a little pop, but I need to see a little bit more with his bat before I start to say he's going to have a breakout year. I'm excited for Dominguez. I don't care what people say about his defense. I'm not switching him to DH. I'm not listening to no articles saying trade him for pitching. I'm not doing that. Dominguez is playing left field all season. Give him the leash. Give him the longest leash you possibly can, like Donald said earlier. Do the same thing you did with Volpe. You do that with Dominguez. I'm excited to see, actually, if Peraza gets a lot of playing time. I did think they would give Pereira another look, but maybe something happened. Maybe Dom Smith over the next couple of weeks just stops hitting, and they go with Rice and Pereira. Pereira can absolutely be that kind of a bat at the bottom of the order that can give you some pop, and he has speed. That's something that we were kind of missing here. Remember in 2019 when Judge and Stanton both went down, and they kept winning because of it? They kept using different ways to create offense. They were using hit and runs. They were using the speed, stealing bases. They were doing things differently, and it was working. It was that next man up. I'm not saying it's going to be the exact same thing, but we're going to have a different speed element in our lineup this year that we didn't have a season ago with the likes of Bellinger. Even Goldschmidt's a much better base runner than probably Torres and Rizzo combined. And Soto as well wasn't the best base runner in the world. So we're going to have an opportunity to create havoc on the base paths if the Yankees let their guys use it. I think they're going to have to get smart. And I was saying I wasn't thrilled with the offense even before the injuries to the pitching. I kept saying as well, get another bat. But they didn't do it. What do they do with Stanton? Do they just tell Stanton to get the surgery as well and they go sign a JD Martinez? I don't know if that's the answer to their problems, but there's ways to make things work. So 81 wins, I don't see that team. I don't see this team winning 81 games. I don't think they're going to win 100. I don't think they're going to win 95, but I still think they can reach the 90 win mark again, and that could be good enough for a wild card. But I also think that if things go right, they could be a 95 win team. No one knows yet. That's all I'm saying is nobody knows what's going to happen. If you have the answers to the season right now, go play the lottery and let me get some of the winnings because nobody can tell the future, especially in this sport. I'm sorry. I get the frustration. I get the pessimism because we just lost Garrett Cole, and I'm not trying to downplay what he means to this team. Same thing with Luis Heel and Stanton, but we also said and Soto. That goes without saying. But everyone wants. A lot of people want to see let them play the kids. Well, now they got a chance to do that.
And I'm on board with it. I mean, I'm perfectly happy with it. I mean, I know I'm pessimism for this year, but it's not going to be a lost year because I want this to be an opportunity to develop our kids. I think it's a good thing. But to be honest, I know the Yankees excuses have been building up since 2018, 2019, and that's partly why I'm a bit more pessimistic than others because I've seen this story before. I mean, you can say you can't predict the year, but we've kind of been seeing the same story since 2018, 2019. It's just been the same story, just maybe with a slightly varying outcome, but it's been pretty much the same story. So that's why I'm pretty convinced that this team isn't going to do too much this year because I've just seen the same story on repeat. And it's just too much now. They don't really make the changes necessary to the front office, to their analytics staff. They could have put together a deeper roster that could withstand some of these injuries. They haven't. They could have invested money properly. They haven't. They could have mitigated risk with injuries, key injuries that they've known about. They haven't. So that's why I'm more. I know people will say I'm negative. I actually just call it realistic. I mean, I haven't seen Anthony Volpe play league average offense yet. That's not being negative. This is being realistic. So, but I've always said that Austin Wells, for me, is a much better prospect than Volpe, and he looks like it in spring. He looks fantastic. So I do think he should be leading off. That's possibly something to be excited about. So there is things that you can learn. Even though you might not win a world championship, it's still not going to be a lost year because I want to see what Dominguez can do. If Dominguez can play you league average left and provide quality offense, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's good. That's not a loss. Austin Wells, if he can show you that he's going to take that next step, that's a great thing. Taking that next step. If Oswaldo Cabrera can prove that he can be your everyday third, well, not every day, but prove to be an everyday option at third base or even Peraza, that's a win. So there's still things that you can win with this season. Will Warren, that's another thing to be excited about. I mean, he was pitching to a 10 ERA last year, looked lost. He's now developed a changeup. Great. He looks like a completely different pitcher. So that's something to be positive about too. So it's not going to be a complete disaster. So when I say the season's over, I just say the season's over in terms of where we were last year in terms of competing with the Dodgers for a championship. That's cooked. I'm sorry, it's just is. But you can make a playoff team. There's a playoff team here. As it is, it's a playoff team. Absolutely. And there's some fans that are perfectly happy with that. And it's just because, as I say, I'm from the '90s, and that's I still have that mentality, the George mentality, the Jeter mentality, Jorge Posada mentality, and maybe that's on me, but that's just the way I am with the Yankees. You know what I mean? And so I hold them to that standard. But I still think that there's a lot of things that can be excited about, and you can never have a bad year if you learn. I just don't want this to be 2023, and that's why I keep saying let's learn what we have with our kids, because 2023, once all these injuries started happening and then the season started to spiral, we went with Jake Bauers, Franchi Cordero, and some of the worst options I've ever seen in the history of the Yankees play the outfield, and it was a complete waste. And I don't want that this year. I want, if things start to go as it looks like it's going, I want us to learn what we have in our farm system, and I think that's a perfectly fair thing to want, because I thought 2023 was a waste of a season. This doesn't have to be. You can still win, high 80 games. I still think they could win 85 games, make a wild card team. And if you learn what we have from our farm system, cool. And I don't know if that's necessarily negative. I just think that's realistic.
Yeah, and you're also not going to, once they get past the draft, I think you'll have a better outlook of what the team can do. I know those comments were, alluded to yesterday with Cashman. But no, my theory on when I said that, I think that, when we did our season prediction, off the cuff the other day, it was, I'm like, all right, 80 to 85. But I want to, I'd rather leave room to get amped up than be let down. So and the season hasn't started yet. So it's really, we don't even know what the opening day lineup is going to look like at this point. Because opening day is when we really do our season predictions, which is, look forward to that. We always enjoy doing those. Plus we still have giveaways coming up as we get closer to the regular season. We did not forget about the giveaways either. But what you guys need to do is not forget to hit that like button. If you want to join the conversation, hit that sub button, and make sure you share this out. So I think, look, is it to that point, where do we see? I want to get to the thing with Pereira, like him being sent down, because when I saw, that's the one that really pissed me off. I understand Spencer Jones; he's not playing on. Maybe a September call up if he has a really good season down in the minor leagues this year. But Pereira was the one that I was surprised was sent down at this stage. I thought they might have given him another week. So as far as with Pereira, is he getting? I don't want. It was an option thing. I don't want them playing games with him now too with these options, because that's the same. Because then we'll end up in a situation with Peraza where he has no options. So, were you guys shocked that Pereira didn't get a little bit more of a look?
Just because he was option doesn't mean they can't have him on the major league roster. Doesn't mean he won't make the team. I just think they want him to get as many at bats, because let's not forget he's coming back from surgery last year. So it's not like he's 100%. He's closer to 100% than Stanton, obviously, but he's not a guy that you're going to be like, okay, go hit 20 home runs, go do all this stuff. I think they want to get him as many at bats, because right now he's probably platooning at DH with Dom Smith or Ben Rice, depending on how things are going right now. So I don't know if you want to use him as a platoon guy. I think you have to. Also, at the same time, I don't think they go into the season with two left-handed DH options, because both Smith and Rice are lefties. So who hits it? We know Rice can't hit left-handed pitching. So who hits the left-handed pitching? They need another righty bat, and that was before the injuries. I think they're holding out to see what's going to happen with Stanton. I think Stanton should get the surgery, because let's be honest, he's got two severely injured elbows.
Yeah.
What is he going to be when he comes back? This has been bothering him since October. This is a bigger problem to me than the pitching injuries, because you can't really game plan for Cole and Heel and then Hampton and Brubaker and all these other guys. It's hard to say, well, we're going to have another 5 guys signed to replace these 5 injured pitchers. It's hard to do that. But you knew about Stanton. That's the big thing that really bothers me, is they never planned for that. So I think they should just have Stanton get the surgery, because what is he going to be? Even if he comes back, let's say June, is he really going to be that effective with two severely injured elbows? You know how hard he swings the bat? His elbows will pop off at one swing. So he hasn't swung a bat in weeks or months now. I don't think we're going to see Stanton this year. And if we do, it's going to be very late in the season, and I don't think he's going to be much of an impact. I think, well, Joel Sherman says he knows they're looking for a right-handed bat that can play either third or the corner outfield. Paul DeJong was available for $1 million. $1 million. Jose Iglesias signed a minor league deal with the Padres. So I was saying these bats were available for weeks and for months. We were all saying it, like, go get somebody. Just go get a bat. So,
and you wonder why I'm pissed off.
No, I know why you're pissed off. I'm pissed off about that. I'm not pissed off about the pitching thing, because you really can't predict these things from happening. It's just they did not game plan for that, and they knew about it. That's what angers me. And I've said that from the second we learned about Stanton's injury, because that was day one of spring. So trade for Trout, yeah, okay. I just don't know if that bat's out there. Is it Martinez? Maybe. Is it going to happen? Probably not. Because again, Hal Steinbrenner lied to us when they broke the beard news and said it's not about the luxury tax. And then Brian Cashman spat on that yesterday by saying with luxury tax restrictions. So once again, our owner and GM, who apparently are great friends and very close, are giving us different answers. So which one is it? That's what
the
annoys
answer
me.
is what Cashman told you. That's the
exactly.
correct answer.
So maybe the money works out with JD Martinez if nobody else gives him an offer. But if they think Stanton's coming back, they're not going to sign another DH. That's why I think eventually Pereira will be on the roster when they can give him everyday at bats. I think they want him getting as many at bats as possible in Scranton, because if you have
you muted yourself, Rob. What I will say about Cashman is I'm very pleased that he was honest. He actually set the expectations fairly reasonably yesterday. He's going to look from within. There's not going to be anything crazy that's going to happen. July, after the draft, that's when the market tends to open up a little bit. So you might look at something around about then. One thing you'll say about Cashman is he doesn't really lie. Al Steinbrenner, he's a little different, but Cashman, he tends to be kind of honest and in these situations, and I'm glad that he didn't set any unrealistic expectations. So I'm perfectly okay with the way that the Yankees are going to go about this. That's what I mean. I'm not demanding that they're going to go on a spending spree for pitching right now. I just don't see the real necessary need to do it. You've still got a rotation that's okay. It's not elite and it's not top 2 in the game anymore, but it's still solid. Max Fried's an ace on 99% of staffs around the league, so he's going to be really good. Rodon, I'm not that high on Rodon, but he's still reasonable. Stroman, I think stinks, but he'll eat innings, and Clark Schmidt's excellent. If his back holds up, I'm not sure about that. Cookie Carrasco, I always thought that was an astute pickup. I think that he has some innings in him, and there were some other ones there. Winans is mentioned. He's going to come out of nowhere. And you know that Matt Blake's pitching factory will develop some kind of arms that's going to surprise, and it looks like Will Warren's one of them. So, if there's one thing I trust about the organization, is actually our pitching, believe it or not. So even though Garrett Cole, I'm down on us reaching a World Series without a Garrett Cole, the one area that the Yankees are very good at is developing pitching. They're pretty damn good at it. So I trust Matt Blake, and I think that our pitching will hold up. Offense, I just don't like the offense, and I really, really wish the Yankees had spent properly to mitigate Stanton's threats since they knew about it in October. Rob, Stanton hasn't picked up a bat since January. Yeah. I also had a report, the article on Brian Hoke on MLB.com saying that Stanton can't pick up everyday items right now. Does that sound like...
Just give him the surgery.
Does that sound like someone that's due to come back imminently?
No.
Someone that can't pick up everyday items? I mean, Jesus Christ. And then you're expected to hit 100-mile-an-hour fucking fastballs. And with a bat, I just highly doubt that. Plus, also add the fact that you're guaranteed a lower half injury with Stanton, because that has happened every year for the last 3 or 4 years. So he's guaranteed a hamstring or a groin injury at some point as well, even when he comes back. It just seems like the Stanton season's a wash, and that sucks. And that's why I really wish that the Yankees had started the placement treatment much earlier in the offseason and considered surgery in the offseason so that he would have been back by now. Just seems like complete malfeasance from the front office.
Yeah, and it's, just get the surgery. It just bite the bullet right now. It's not worth trying to force something that's not going to work. It's well, then don't watch the games. Don't cheer when they win. You know, I see. You know, a lot of people. Look, am I pissed off about the way this whole season has gone and the injuries and all the setbacks? Absolutely. You know, am I, jumping for joy that the season's going to start? Yeah, I am always looking forward to baseball. But I mean, some of these people are like, oh, it's not even worth going to the stadium. Don't bother going to the games. Don't give them any more of your money. They're not going to spend it anyway. It's like, good. Maybe it's about time we weed out some of these fair weather fans that really are not invested in the team like we are. Sorry, that's how I feel about it, because I saw the report. They had 400, that 400 plus million just in ticket sales with the seats and the luxury suites. The Yankees have the money to spend, but they're not going to do it.
Right. So there's two different arguments there. You've lost me there, man. I don't blame the fans for being pissed off. And to be honest, if there's any fan bases as loyal as any in New York, I would say Yankee fans. They are pretty loyal. I mean, we had some ass years. 2023 was ass, and it was packed to the gunnels to watch Jason Dominguez. I would say that we're pretty loyal. I mean, Met fans, literally Steve Cohen just came out recently saying that he was unhappy with their attendance last year. He was pissed off at it. And they were really good last year. You could argue they were better than the Yankees last year. I don't really blame Yankee fans, man. I'm not really sure. I mean, they have every right to be pissed off. I mean, they earned almost $1 billion last year. They made over $400 million from the freaking World Series run alone, the playoff run alone. So it's like, come on. And you're hearing Hal Steinbrenner saying we're out of the loop. No wonder fans are pissed. I would be, and I'm not going to give them the amount of money that I gave them last year, just as out of principle. I know they don't care, but out of principle, I won't. And I'm as loyal as they come. So that's just my standpoint, man.
Nobody knows how the season's going to go, so if you don't want to watch, don't watch. But I mean. Yes. It's up to you. If you think that they're not going to be good, then go play pickleball. What can I tell you? But I know you're going to watch. Everyone who says they're not going to watch a team watches the team. I'm done with this team. And you find yourself on the couch the very next day. Fuck this team. And that's exactly what we do every single time. Every time we say we're done, we end up watching the very next day. I say it all the time about the Giants. I'm done with them. And the very next Sunday, I'm sitting there watching them lose 47-0. And I'm saying, why am I doing this to myself? Because we're fans. It's just what we do. So, again, I can't predict how the season's going to go. I understand. I totally get it, Donald. Everything you said was right. The way they approached the offseason, especially with the offense. I think they did enough on the pitching side. You got Max Fried. I don't want to forget about this bullpen because we have a closer now. We have a great setup man now. We have some really good left-handed options in that bullpen that are pitching really well in the spring. Zistrinsky, is that how you say it? He's looked great. I was going to call him Z. Tim Hill looks really good. A lot of these arms look good. We can shorten the games now. And if a guy like Winans can be in that bullpen and give you multiple innings, or even if it's Will Warren that at the start of the year is used that Michael King role, if they want to go with Cookie as a number 5 and then Warren kind of gets those multiple inning role, then you still have Hamilton. You still have, eventually Brubaker will come back. You still have a really good back end of the bullpen. Maybe they go add a relief pitcher now to shorten games up. I think there's still better options in the bullpen available than there are in the rotation. So maybe they go bring back David Robertson on a 1 year, get him back. Or maybe they use one of these kids that have looked really good in the spring. Reiselman's looked pretty good at times. So the options are there. I think they can shorten the games for these starters because they're going to need it. Guys like Rodon and Schmidt, even Stroman, they're not going to give you like 7 or 8 innings. Really nobody in this rotation can besides Fried. That's why losing Cole was big because him and Fried were like the big inning guys. Even Heel was kind of like iffy. But I think there's a chance that you can shorten games with a good bullpen. The defense should help. And you can. I think if there's any fix they're going to make with this offense, for God's sakes, please use the speed. We have it finally. We finally have it. If these guys get on base, use it. These bases are gigantic. Use the freaking bases and steal some bags this year. Volpe, Wells even, Jazz, Dominguez, if Peraza, Pereira, Cabrera, All these guys that can run. Judge can run well. Bellinger's a great runner. Use it. And you can create some havoc on the base paths similar to what Boston did last year. Boston was riding really a lackluster offense outside of Devers and a couple other guys, and they were killing teams with the base paths. So maybe take a page out of their book. Probably easier said than done because I don't know if Aaron Boone has a light bulb that clicks in his head, but hopefully it does this year because sometimes when you have no choice but to make a change is when you finally go, ding, we got to do something about this. And we'll see.
That's the one thing the Red Sox have, man. They have a fantastic
They got great
scouting
coaching.
system.
Yeah.
Fantastic coaching, fantastic scouting. Their analytics work in their favor, where they saw before everyone else in the league that Trevino couldn't throw to second base. And so when it was our turn to play them in the series, they ran like nothing on earth, like their heads were on fire on Trevino, and Trevino gave up the record number of steals in one game. That came from Alex Cora in the scouting system. I don't trust the Yankees to do that because, by the way, the Dodgers had no pitching in the World Series, and the Yankees didn't take advantage of it. So I don't necessarily trust that. But it's a good point from Rob. Christopher Cancel says, I hate to see it. I think Boston win the division, and I have to agree with him. And I know you're not trolling, man. I think you're just being realistic. I think Boston had an A+ off season. I think we had a B- one. So I think it's even things up a little bit. I think it's going to be close, but I do at the moment say that Boston are favorites for the division. So Sunil wants it to be like a vodka shot thing here. If I say malfeasance one more time, there you go. Go and drink vodka if you want. I don't drink, so I won't. TC Steels is like, come on, man. Just because we lost Cole doesn't lose us the division. You're right. It's everything else that the Yankees did.
Yeah, but there's a lot of other things that have to fall into place. Can it happen? Absolutely. I'm just like I was saying, I'm just curbing my expectations a little bit. I don't want to get too crazy and then be let down. I'd rather almost like 2017. See where things are going to go, and then be like, you know what, that actually was very like an exciting season. I'd rather that feeling than the like last year losing the World Series the way we did.
I agree with Joe Coelho here. The Yankees receive enough dollars to do better. Fans like me are upset with roster construction for 7 years. That's exactly my point. Very good point there. John the Beagle Dad's right. The whole pitching rotation, I cannot wait to see. I'm excited. Yeah, I think the pitching is going to be really good. One thing I know about you guys, you find a way to overcome adversity. Don't give up. Yeah, that's true. That's true. We've always been there or thereabouts. But Christopher must be pretty happy because did anyone see what Soto did? Standing in right field when he was getting heckled, and Soto just stared at the guy, and then the next at bat hit a home run straight to him. It was freaking amazing. I was like, that's my baller right there. I miss you already. So Met fans are gonna have one hell of a fun ride with this guy. It's gonna be amazing. I think he's gonna win MVP in the National League. He might even hit 50. I can see it.
Yep. And Ken, just want to say thank you for the gifted membership. You are the gift that just keeps on giving. You much appreciated.
Make sure you guys go check out Ken's channel because I've been watching his streams and his videos called Yankees the Ugly Truth. Doing a great job. So Ken, keep up the good work. I'm hoping to get into a stream next time you do one. But yeah, guys, make sure you drop a subscription to Ken's channel because he's giving back to us a lot. And we're hoping to give back to him in any way we can. So guys, if you have not subscribed to Ken's channel, Yankees the Ugly Truth. Yankees the Ugly Truth. Go sub to it because he's doing a great job over there. Ken, thank you once again, Ken Claus. Even in March, Ken Claus still dropping those gifts.
Yep. I want to get
that's a really good point, Rob. I'm glad you mentioned that. Ken has done a lot for this channel, and we will try and return the favor because he is one of the GOATs, the OGs of this channel. So really appreciate everything that he does.
Want to close out with this comment here from Jonathan because his first comment was I think at 6:30 in the morning, so he's always weird. But he's stating that Yankees need to use the prospects they have, and I think you're going to see a lot of the. I think you're going to see more than not the prospects come into play as the season progresses. Like Rob said, I do think at some point Pereira does return to the roster at some stage. I'm looking to see Ben Rice, his progression, even though he's not really. I don't know if he'd be considered a prospect anymore, but Ben Rice in the DH / backup first baseman. How he takes to that role. There are things to still look forward to this season. It's not a complete wash. It's not a see you next year before the first pitch is thrown, but there's still a lot of things to look forward to this season.
Yeah, obviously they're gonna use the prospects, and they kind of have no choice now. Yeah, Will Warren is gonna be on this team in some capacity. I think he should be a starter, but I also think Carrasco has done enough to earn a spot. You can't let Carrasco walk because someone's gonna pick him up, and then you're gone from a pitching depth option. So I think to start the season, Carrasco probably makes the rotation, and then Warren will be waiting in the wings. They're going to have no choice but to use Ben Rice or Everson Pereira at some point. But Dom Smith having the spring he's having is kind of giving them another option. Yeah. They're going to use Dominguez, and that's still a prospect. They're going to use Escara, who's still technically a prospect, even though he's like 28. But they're going to use some of these prospect guys, some of the farm system guys, because they don't really have a choice. So, yeah, they're going to have to use them this year. And I think eventually you're going to see a Zach Messinger, Ben Shields, Tristan Vreeling. Some of these guys are going to come up from Double-A and take the jump. The Yankees had a lot of really sneaky good arms in Somerset last year, and they're not like 21, 22. They're like 23, 24, 25. Cam Schlittler, up until like one inning yesterday, has been having a brilliant spring. So there's a lot of exciting arms that may not be at the top 100. They're not even like top 200 in baseball, but they're good arms, and sometimes that's what you need to survive an injury. We don't have a Paul Skeens. I freaking wish we did, but that could have been maybe Chase Hampton, but he's hurt. It seems like always our top pitching prospects get hurt, but we usually find these middle of the pack guys like Brito and Vasquez. No one really had them being an impact in 2023, and they ended up getting us Juan Soto. So sometimes it's these kind of arms that can help you survive an injury. So I think at some point this year we're going to see them, and I'm excited to see them because they have some talent out there in Somerset. And eventually, when those kids from the single-A, FCL, and all that, the lower levels start to rise up, that farm system will creep back up into the middle of the pack, maybe even top 10 again if some players really take off, like George Lombard. By the way, really wish people would understand what sarcasm was. Donald, I saw your post under the Yankees tweet about reading the room, and a lot of people were like, what are you talking about? You put the laughing emoji. It was clearly a joke. God, I wish you can type sarcasm next time. Maybe more people understand it. But yeah.
Oh yeah, I got it rough. I got to type. He's 19. What do you mean? I was like, come on. A little bit of humor, you know what I mean?
It's clearly a joke.
I thought it was funny.
Nobody in their right mind thinks that George Lombard should be on the team right now. Exactly. Because I guarantee you he's going to go, if he goes 0 for 10, this kid sucks. They should have traded him. How dare we say he's the next A-Rod? The cycle never ends.
There's no better fan base than the Yankee fan base. It's hilarious.
How good does he look? He looks freaking amazing.
I'm excited for him.
I'm excited about. He's it. Him and Spencer Jones. I couldn't be more excited about the two of them. I'm wrapping both of them up in cotton wool. They are absolutely untradeable. I want them to get a serious shot in 26, 27. What do you think, Rob?
I think you're going to see Jones. If, like I said this before, if things go well, Spencer Jones is going to be on the team next year. Maybe even late this year if things go really well. Lombard is good enough that he could crack the roster next year, but I don't think we should put that expectation up there. Maybe like middle 2026, 2027, we'll see him. But yeah, Spencer Jones, it's the strikeout stuff. It's a swing and miss. If he can correct that, he's got everything else. The power, the speed, the defense, he's got it. It's just I'm worried about that whiff because he swings and misses. He's doing it again. He didn't do that last spring. He's doing it this spring. So we need to give him a little more time in Double A and then eventually Triple A. But if he does drop that strikeout rate, even like 7% or something like that, because it was high last year, it was like almost 50. If he can drop that to like the 30s, even, you're going to see him next season for sure, competing for center field.
Yeah, this is true, Sean.
That's true. You can't make us happy. It's true. You're good.
We say that all the time. Yankee fans' biggest enemy is other Yankee fans.
So, Chris, Chris says that he didn't see that Soto thing I was telling him about. Go to the Barstool Sports Twitter. They've got that there. You can watch that there. Did Chris have some sort of a thing with you, Uncle Tats?
He misunderstood one of my rants the other night and thought and I'm like, no, not you. But
what was your rant? I want to hear it.
Oh, what was it? Was I don't even remember now what I was ranting about.
Right.
Something with Soto and the fan bases.
It's only 24 hours ago, Tats. Come on.
Yeah, this is how long have you known me?
I can't remember.
Oh no. It was the when I was ranting about the other fan bases mocking and laughing at the Yankees, tough spring, celebrating it, and I'm like, no, he thought I was lumping him into that whole group, which I would never do.
Oh, Ken has a better memory than you, Tats. So there we go.
Yeah,
Look, anyone that celebrates a player getting hurt is disgusting behavior, because you know what? We could easily turn around and laugh at them for their catcher going down for a long time, but we're not going to do that, because then if we say here's an example of how sensitive people are. How many months went by with Mets fans saying, "Oh, the little brother now, hey, Judge dropped the ball," because they signed Soto. One little joke about Soto's defense with the Mets, and they were like, "It's just spring training." So everyone's sensitive, especially them over there in Queens. And there's plenty of us Yankee fans that are very, very sensitive too. So let's not celebrate injuries, because I would hate if Soto got hurt. I don't like seeing good players go down. I don't like seeing players get hurt in general. So why are people celebrating Garrett Cole getting hurt? What has he ever done to you? Red Sox fans should be mad, actually.
Outstanding a person as
right. Red Sox fans should be pissed that Garrett Cole is hurt, because Devers kicks his ass every time, and you want the best players out there. I would hate if Devers got hurt. I would hate if Soto got hurt. I want to see the best of the best. Like, even though the Dodgers waxed us to a degree in the World Series, I wanted them to be at full strength. I want to see the best of the best playing. That should go for every team. I don't get why people are laughing at injuries. But then again, it's a new age where the internet rules. I don't know, I sound like an old head screaming at the clouds, but let's just not celebrate injuries.
Yeah.
It's a bad look.
Nope. But with that, we are going to sign off here. So we hope everybody did enjoy the chat. If you want to join us next time, it's easy. It's free. Just hit that sub button, hit that like button, help us build the algorithm and get this channel out there. We do always appreciate the support you guys give us, and make sure you share this out. So with that, on behalf of myself, Donald, Robinho, so good to have you back in the chat. Do want to thank everybody for hanging out with us. Enjoy the rest of your day. We will be back Friday morning, 10 a.m. as always. So with that, wear your pinstripes of pride and play hard.